show loading sign. Hello and welcome back to the Brony Adventures. This is the second book, The Brony Adventures 2. So, let's get started. Oh, and Chapter 1, Love is in Bloom. Thunderstorm and Rarity return from their honeymoon. Rarity says, I'm going to go check on my house. Who knows what Sweetie Belle and her friends could have done to it after all this time. Thunderstorm says, alright, I'll wait in Sugar Cube Corner. Rarity says, well, why not come along? Thunderstorm says, I just want to go there just to go there. I can't explain it. Rarity says, alright, see you when I get back. Thunderstorm says, see you then. In Sugar Cube Corner, Thunderstorm says, man, that was one crazy honeymoon and a boring ride back to Ponyville. Twilight says, Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm says, huh? Twilight? Twilight says, come with me up to Pinky Key's room, quick. Thunderstorm says, okay. In Pinky's room. Thunderstorm says, so, what's up? Twilight says, it's Rumor Dash. We haven't been able to find her since your wedding. Twilight says, whoa, that's the fastest I've ever seen him go. In the Everfree Forest, Thunderstorm screams, Rumor Dash! Come out! I know you're here! A thunderstorm roars. Thunderstorm says, a storm, and it's not mine. Not good. Rumor Dash! Please! Answer me! It starts to rain. Thunderstorm says, where are you? Wait! I know! Please be there. He dives into the forest and hovers, then looks up and says, Dashy! Rumor Dash says, just go. Please. Thunderstorm lands right beside her and wraps a wing around her and says, I'll never leave you. Rumor Dash says, why? Thunderstorm says, I love you. Rumor Dash says, what about Rarity? Thunderstorm says, don't worry about that right now. I'm sorry it took me this long to realize it. Rumor Dash says, I love you too. Her eyes fill up with tears and she puts her face in Thunderstorm's chest. Thunderstorm says, I know it's hard. She's your friend and you want to be loyal, but Rarity wouldn't want you to be miserable. Rumor Dash says, I know, but... Thunderstorm says, no buts. He nuzzles his head against hers and says, I love you, Rumor Dash. And Dash says, I love you too. The storm roars. The lightning powls and crackles. They nestle together to wait out the storm. Rumor Dash looks up at Thunderstorm and they share a kiss. They look at each other for a few seconds, then nestle back into each other. End of Chapter 1. Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 2, A Baby on the Way. JT says, pregnant? Twilight says, yes, I went to the doctor just to check because well, you know, and he confirmed it. I'm pregnant. JT says, I'm a dad? Twilight says, yeah. JT says, we'll be finding Rumor Dash to Thunderstorm because we got a baby to prepare for, and Thunderstorm would know where to look. They seem connected somehow. It's weird. Twilight says, fine, but let me be the one to tell the girls. JT says, okay, but take it easy. You're carrying a baby now. Twilight says, I will. JT says, no more all-night studying, right? Twilight opens the door and says, Sakura? Why are you here? Sakura says, Ajak nowhere to be found. So I turned around and came here with much fear. Here I bloom at a dangerous room, and my magic has no effect. It won't resurrect her health back, so come with me to she. Twilight says, let's go. JT says, Twilight, don't overdo it. Twilight says, I won't. At Zekora's house. Twilight says, Apple Bloom! It's worse seeing than hearing. Zecora says, I agree. I only wish it had been me. Twilight says, I prefer it happened to no pony or zebra. What kind of shroom was it? Zecora says, dark like the night sky. It tricks the eye. With yellow dots, it gives you spots. Twilight says, I've been studying plants since the poison joke incident, and it sounds like Phaedry. Zecora says, correct. Twilight says, we need to move fast. She only has 15 minutes before the poison gets worse. Appleton says, everything hurts. Make it stop. Please. Twilight says, I am. Just hang in there. I brought a book that contains spells on how to cure things like this. It also contains natural remedies. Here it is. Appleton says, hurry. Twilight says, I am. Here it goes. Twilight's horn starts to glow, and Appleton is lifted into the air. In one big flash, she falls back on the floor. Appleton says, ow. Twilight says, do you feel better? Appleton says, aside from hitting the floor, I feel great. Thanks, Twilight. Twilight says, you're welcome, Appleton. End of Chapter 2. The Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 3, Back Home. Hunter and Zara return from their honeymoon at Hunter's and Zara's house. Hunter says, so what do you want to do first? Zara says, rest. It was on the ride back. Hunter says, alright, I'm gonna go build something. Zara says, okay. Crash walks in and says, what's up? Hope you don't mind, but I just came right in. Zara says, not at all. Hunter says, nope. Crash says, awesome. Anyway, welcome back. How was it? Zara says, amazing. Hunter says, she took the best word. Crash says, I played the song we made for Octavia and the others. They loved it. Hunter says, cool. Zara says, could I hear it? Scratch and Hunter say, sure. Scratch says, I'll go get it. Hunter says, okay. Zara says, how long is it? Hunter says, I don't remember. Zara says, of course. Hunter says, I should build a robot of Vinyl Scratch. Zara says, yes, because the R-9000 worked out so well and didn't try to kill Brian. Hunter says, good point. How about I help push the castle? Zara says, that works. Hunter says, cool. Scratch says, got it. Hunter says, awesome. They play the song for Zara. Zara says, sounds great. Scratch says, thanks. Hunter says, thanks. Zara says, where's Octavia? Scratch says, she had a concert today. Zara says, awesome. Hunter says, I'm gonna go to the castle now. End of Chapter 3. Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 4, Time for Help. Shirley says, What are you hiding? David says, nothing. Shirley says, please don't lie to me. David says, fine, take it. Shirley says, where did this come from? David says, your room. It was on the floor. Shirley's eyes fill with tears. David says, come here, don't cry. Shirley says, what are we going to do? Dave says, we're going to find help. Shirley says, who? Dave says, Twilight could probably help. Shirley says, okay, but let's hurry. Dave says, not yet. We need to be prepared. They could be waiting for us to leave. Shirley says, what do we do? Dave says, we could. Zapper walks in and says, we're back with big news. Shirley says, what? Twilight starts blushing and says, I'm pregnant. Dave says, wow. Shirley says, oh, congratulations. Shirley and Twilight say, eee! Dave says, you're a dad now? Zapper says, I couldn't be happier. Dave says, did you see any pony outside? Zapper says, no. Why? Dave says, read this. Zapper says, oh. I'll get some investigators to look into this and get y'all some security. Dave says, thanks. Zapper says, no problem, man. Dave says, so what are you going to name it? Zapper says, haven't focused on that yet. Dave says, oh, was she, uh, good? Sarah says, amazing. I was surprised since she had never had it before. Dave says, okay. Sarah says, hey, you asked. Dave says, I know. End of chapter 4. The Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 5, The Dark Truth. Dunsmore says, I think it's over. Let's head to Sugar Cube Corner. A pony is pretty worried about you. And Dash says, alright. At Sugar Cube Corner, Dunsmore says, found her. Twilight says, Run Dash! I was so worried. And Dash says, relax, Twilight. I'm alright. Twilight starts hugging Dash and looks at her and a thunderstorm and says, it's all over your faces now. Dunsmore says, what is? Twilight says, love. For each other. Dunsmore says, oh. Rarity says, there you are. You had me worried. Dunsmore says, could you both leave me and Rarity? We need to talk alone. Twilight says, of course. And Dash just nods and follows Twilight into the next room. Rarity says, what's wrong? Dunsmore says, Rarity, I'm sorry, and I never wanted to hurt you, but... Rarity says, but what? Dunsmore says, but me and Dash are in love, so we got to get a divorce. I'm sorry. Rarity's eyes fill with tears, and she says, what? How did this happen? Dunsmore says, we were drawn to each other. We couldn't help it. Rarity says, get the papers, and after I sign them, never talk or come near me again. She runs out of Sugar Cube Corner crying. Dunsmore says, understood. You can come in now. Twilight says, I'll go cover her. Dunsmore says, thanks. Twilight runs out the door, and Dash says, poor Rarity. Dunsmore says, Rainbow Dash, listen and listen good. And Dash says, what's wrong? Dunsmore says, in a world where I was a human, there's a fanfic called Rainbow Factory, and a sequel to it called Awoken. In both the fanfics, the Rainbow Factory used fillies and colts that failed the test to make rainbows, and you were the leader. Does this actually happen in real life? Rainbow Dash has gone pale. Dunsmore says, I'll still love you. I don't care if you are. I just need to know. Please. Rainbow Dash says, yes. Dunsmore says, then it ends now. I won't have you become what you become in those fanfics. Rainbow Dash says, what are you going to do? The pony can quit the Rainbow Factory. Dunsmore says, I'm going to tear that hellhole apart. End of chapter 5. Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 6, Chaos. Twilight catches Rarity in the middle of Ponyville. Twilight says, Rarity, stop. Rarity says, what? What do you want? To tell me everything is okay? It's not. I love him, and he's leaving me. For Rainbow Dash. I never thought she'd do something so cruel to me. Twilight says, they couldn't help it. Fate drew them together. They didn't plan on it. It just happened. Rarity says, thunderstorm? Twilight says, he's going to the Rainbow Factory. Rarity says, I don't care. Why should I care? Twilight says, Rarity, please, don't blame them. They couldn't help it. Rarity says, he can die for all I care. Twilight says, Rarity. It's then that the storm goes from bad to total chaos. Rarity says, this wind is crazy. Is he trying to kill us? Twilight says, this isn't good. He must be in trouble. Rarity says, Twilight says, the tornado just engulfed the factory. Rarity says, Dinosaur, no! I didn't mean it! Twilight says, get down! Debris falls everywhere, covering countless bodies and smashing homes. Brady says, "Thunderstorm, I didn't mean it." Twilight says, "This isn't your fault, and he could still be alive." Brady says, "No, no, Twilight. No pony could have survived that, and I caused it." Brady's eyes flood with tears. Twilight says, "You didn't." Twilight says, "Rainbow-Dash, stay here. I'm going to see if Rainbow knows what's going on." But he says, "What just happened?" Twilight says, "I'm about to find that out. Stay here." End of chapter 6. The Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 7, The Factory Falls. Honor says, "Hey Firefly, you're still in town?" Firefly says, "Yep, at least until this castle is back in 100% condition." Honor says, "That could be a while." Firefly says, "I know." Honor says, "Ever heard of a pony named Soul Silver?" Firefly says, "Yes, he's one of my best friends." "Why?" Honor says, "He's the one who brought back King Sombra." Firefly says, Is that the storm heading for the Rainbow Factory?" Honor says, "Yep." "Didn't you say you're one of Thunderstorm's friends?" Firefly says, "Yeah, he busted into the factory." "Why do you ask?" Honor says, "Because when we came here, he was a human. When did y'all meet?" Firefly says, "Human? What are you talking about? Me and Thunderstorm have been friends since we were colts." Honor says, "How is that possible?" Firefly says, "Whoa, a storm is appearing over the factory. Thunderstorm must be in trouble." Honor says, "The wind has gone up too. It's crazy." Firefly says, "The tornado! The factory! No!" Honor says, "Jacob was still in there, wasn't he?" Firefly says, "Who?" Honor says, "Sorry, I meant Thunderstorm." Firefly says, "Yes, he was." A worker on the castle soil screams, "Get down! Rubble are flying!" Firefly says, "Down, down!" Debris hits the castle. Firefly says, "I saw bodies with that rubble." Thunder, you better be alive, or I'm going to kill you twice. End of chapter 7. The Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 8, A Flutter Day. David says, "I got it." Shillelagh says, "Thank you." David opens the door and says, "Fluttershy, why are you here?" Fluttershy says, "Could you help me with the animals?" Pepper is helping me, but we could use some extra help. Dave says, "Sure, let's go." Fluttershy says, "Great," on the way to her cottage. Dave says, "Thunderstorm?" Fluttershy says, "Wonder where he's going." Dave says, "Looks like he's going to the Rainbow Factory." Fluttershy says, "He busted in." Dave says, "A storm is appearing. Not good." Fluttershy says, The tornado." Dave says, "Thunderstorm." "No. We need to get down there. Now." Fluttershy says, "Oh, okay. What are we going to do when we get there?" Dave says, "Look for Thunderstorm." Fluttershy says, "I hope he's okay. I didn't see him come out before the tornado." Dave says, "It's okay, Fluttershy. I know what you mean." Shillelagh runs up to them and says, "What happened? I heard the storm and came outside to see, and what I see is a factory getting gulped by a tornado." Dave says, "Thunderstorm was in there." Shillelagh says, "Oh, Celestia, no." Dave says, "That's what we're hoping too. Come on." Shillelagh says, "Please be alive, Prince Thunderstorm." Fluttershy says, "Please." End of chapter 8. The Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 9, A Hero Falls. Ernest says, "What? No! It's too dangerous, and I'll be out of a job. Thunderstorm says, don't worry, I'll make sure you get a new job that you'll love. Now stay here, and no matter what happens, even if I don't come back, don't ever come there. Because even if I don't come back out, that place will fall. And Ash says, you better come back. Thunderstorm smiles and says, of course I will, because I meant what I said. I will never leave you. And Ash's eyes fill with tears, and she says, he's not planning on coming back. At the Rainbow Factory, Thunderstorm says, I'm sorry, Rainbow Dash. He busts into the factory. An alarm goes off. Security Guard 2 says, hey, stop! Prince Thunderstorm? Thunderstorm says, not this again. Yes, it's me. Now move. Security Guard 2 says, yes, sir. Security Guard 2 says, Command, we got a problem. Thunderstorm flies to the center of the factory and says, time for a storm unlike any I've ever made before. Second in command of the factory says, hey! Why are you here? Security Guard 3 says, ma'am, there's a storm forming outside and we didn't make it. Second in command of the factory says, what? How is that possible? Thunderstorm says, my name is Thunderstorm. How do you think it's possible? Second in command of the factory says, you're causing it? How? The roof of the factory gets off, the wind howls beyond comprehension, and the rain falls beyond comprehension, and so does the hail. Thunderstorm says, it's my special talent! Second in command of the factory says, why are you doing this? Thunderstorm says, guess. Second in command of the factory says, kill him! Right at that moment, the whole factory is engulfed in the mother of all tornadoes. After a few minutes, the storm and the tornado disappear. The rubble of the factory is scattered everywhere. Rainbow Dash screams, Thunderstorm! No! Light runs to catch up to Rainbow Dash and says, Rainbow Dash, what just happened? Rainbow Dash says, Thunderstorm, he destroyed the factory with her eyes fill with even more tears, and she says, with himself inside. She breaks down crying. Twilight says, no. Why did he do it? And Ash says, because we used the lilies and cults to make rainbows, and he didn't want that place to turn me into a monster. She breaks down crying again. Twilight says, let's find him. And Ash says, right. They look for hours upon hours through the rubble. Twilight says, I think I found him. And Ash says, really? Twilight says, is him alright? And no. And Ash says, what? The thunderstorm. For the third time, she breaks down crying. And Ash says, no! Twilight's eyes fill up with tears, and she says, Thunderstorm, no! Dragonix flies over to them and says, what's wrong? Oh, I'll get him to the hospital. Maybe there's still some life in him. Twilight says, thank you. Dragonix says, he is my cousin, after all. End of chapter 9. The Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 10, A Hero's Life on the Line. At the hospital, Draconix says, hey! Prince Thunderstorm needs help! Now! Nurse Redheart says, the prince? In here now. Lay him down. But the one says, Prince Thunderstorm? My word, what happened to him? Nurse Redheart says, do everything you can to bring him back. But the one says, you bet I will. 15 hours later, the room is full of doctors. But the one says, he won't respond! Dr. 2 says, "We got to get him alive." Dr. 4 says, "It's hopeless. He's dead." Nurse Red Heart says, "I don't care if it takes you months. This is Princess Luna's son. Get him alive." Dr. 1 says, "He's not responding. What more can I do? I've done everything I can." Dr. 4 says, "He's gone." Dr. 1 says, "Who you calling gone?" The doctors and Nurse Red Heart's face are shocked. Dr. 1 says, "You're alive?" Dr. 1 says, "Did you really think a tornado was going to kill me?" Dr. 4 says, "How are you alive?" Dr. 1 says, "I work wonders." Dr. 3 says, "For some pony that was at this door, you're awfully cheerful." Dr. 1 says, "Thank you. Could you please let any pony in here that knows me?" Nurse Red Heart says, "Of course." In the hallway outside of Dr. 1's room, Nurse Red Heart says, "You may come in." Ernest says, "He's alive?" Nurse Red Heart smiles and says, "Yes." Violet says, "Thanks, Celestia, and you." Nurse Red Heart says, "Happy to." In Dr. 1's room, Dr. 1 says, "Ernest, wait!" Ah! Ernest says, Sorry. Dr. 1 says, "It's alright. It's worth the pain." Thunderstorm says, "Ow! What was that for?" Ernest says, "What's wrong with you? Trying to kill yourself like that?" Thunderstorm says, "If it meant that place was destroyed and couldn't get to you, then I was completely ready to die." Thunderstorm says, "Ow! Stop that!" Ernest says, "Don't ever say that again! And if you ever scare me of that again, your flank is mine." Thunderstorm says, "Sounds good to me." Twilight says, "This isn't a joking matter. You were dead for 16 hours. Thunderstorm says, "I know. But I'm back now because I meant what I said, Rainbow Dash. I will never leave you." Dash's eyes fill with tears, and she hugs him. Thunderstorm says, "Ow, no, don't let go. It's a good kind of pain." Rabbi says, "There's the ghost, back from the dead. What can't you do?" Nash lets go of Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm says, "Firefly, you're still in town?" Rabbi says, "Yeah, I am." He punches Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm says, "Ow! What's that for?" Rabbi says, "That's for scaring me and dying." Pretty soon, every pony has shown up except Rarity. Twilight says, "So, what was it like?" Thunderstorm says, "If you mean Rainbow Dash, we ain't got that far yet." Rainbow Dash blushes. Twilight says, "I meant being dead." Thunderstorm says, "I was in a cold, dark place, standing on a long, rocky, zigzag path, and something was pulling me down it, faster and faster. When I remembered Dashy, I started to pat back, but the force wouldn't let go. Eventually, though, I broke through it and flew like mad in the opposite direction. Next thing I know, I hear the doctor say he's gone and I'm back. That's it." Every pony in the room says nothing. Thunderstorm says, "Rainbow Dash, come here, please." Rainbow Dash walks up to him and says, "Yeah?" Thunderstorm says, "I'm going to show you a dark pony secret. Kiss me." Rainbow Dash blushes and says, "In front of every pony?" Thunderstorm says, "Please." Rainbow Dash says, "Okay." Rainbow Dash and Thunderstorm kiss. Magic sweeps over Thunderstorm. Rainbow Dash and Thunderstorm stop kissing, and she says, "What was that?" Thunderstorm says, "When the dark pony is hurt and he or she kisses their true love, it heals them." Rainbow Dash says, "Whoa. So you're better?" Thunderstorm lifts his wings and says, "You tell me." He grabs Rainbow Dash and flies out of the hospital. Rainbow Dash says, "You're so better." Thunderstorm says, "Feels so good to fly. I can't stand being grounded for too long." Rainbow Dash says, "I know, right? I love flying." Johnson says, want a race? And Ash says, thought you'd never ask. End of chapter 13. Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 11, Dark Wonders. Outside the hospital, Twilight says, look at them. They're so happy. Diddy says, that's because they're racing. Thunderstorm loves to race. Twilight says, let's head home. Diddy says, alright. Twilight says, I wonder what he meant when he called himself a dark pony. Diddy says, he's black. Twilight says, yeah, but that's not what he meant when he said it. Let me show you a dark pony's secret. How and when did he learn dark pony's secrets? Diddy says, don't worry about it. It's Thunderstorm. He makes all kinds of names pop up out of nowhere. Twilight says, not funny, and I'm serious. Where did he learn that? Diddy says, I give up. No matter what I say, you're going to try to find the answers to all your questions. Twilight says, huh? What? Sorry, I was in thought. Diddy says, see what I mean? Twilight says, I think I have a book on dark ponies in my library. Diddy says, let's hurry then. At Twilight's house, Twilight says, no. Ugh, no. Where is it? Diddy says, maybe you don't have one after all. Twilight says, I could have sworn I did. Diddy says, hey Spike, ever seen the book she's looking for? Twilight says, nope. Diddy says, it's probably not here. Twilight says, oh, where is it? Diddy says, is this it? Twilight says, yes! Let me see it. Uh-oh. Diddy says, what? Twilight says, we need to get to Thunderstorm. End of chapter 11. The Brony Adventures 2, chapter 12, A Soul Search. Twilight says, look at them racing each other. Thunder. Ever since he was a colt, he couldn't stay on the ground long. Hunter says, you know him as a colt should be impossible. Twilight says, guess we should go tell your wife that you're okay. Hunter says, yeah, we should. On our way to Hunter's house, Hunter says, is that Fluttershy? Twilight says, no. The pony is black and red, but... oh, Celestia. It's one of them. Hunter says, one of who? Twilight says, we got to get to Thunder. Fast. Hunter says, why? Firefly says, there's no time for questions, but before we go to Thunders, I know a pony who can answer all your questions. Hunter says, who? Firefly says, you'll see. Goes to the Crystal Empire. Hunter says, why are we here? Firefly says, because he should be around here somewhere. Hunter says, can you not answer a question? Firefly says, calm down. All your questions will be answered when we find him. Brony says, why can't you just tell me? Firefly says, because that wouldn't be any fun. Now look. Brony says, fine. Then it got harder fast. Firefly says, these suns? 3 suns for a cutie mark. I'm red with a yellow and orange mane, plus yellow eyes. Heat is what I do. Brony says, oh. Firefly says, he hates the heat, so he should come out soon. Just to make me stop. A mysterious voice says, stop, please, I'll come out. Arn says, you? Firefly says, good to see you, Soul Silver. End of chapter 12. The Brony Adventures 2, chapter 13, A Dark Surprise. On the way to Fluttershy's, Fluttershy says, oh my, what's that dark cloud? Dave says, I see wings. That's not a cloud. Fluttershy says, what are they? Trixie says, they're dark ponies, anti-versions of every pony naturally born in Equestria. Dave says, how do you know? Trixie says, Twilight Sparkle is not the only pony that studies. The great and powerful Trixie is no dunce. Dave says, yeah, just annoying. Trixie says, excuse me? Dave says, nothing. Trixie says, that's what I thought. Fluttershy says, so, why are they here? She says, don't you know anything? They're here to claim their king. Twilight says, and who's that? She says, nobody knows, but it has to be an alicorn. Dave says, oh no. She says, what? Dave says, it's Thunderstorm, it has to be. She says, of course, I guess you're smarter than you look. Dave says, grrr. Tracy says, the great and powerful Tracy bids you adieu. She runs off. Dave says, thank goodness. Fluttershy says, now what? Dave says, you go help Thunderstorm. Fluttershy says, yeep. Dave says, Fluttershy, come on. Trembling, she follows David to help. Dave says, should be around here somewhere. Fluttershy says, let's hurry. Dave says, calm down, I found it. Oh no. Fluttershy says, what? Dave says, his eyes. They've changed. End of chapter 13. Brony Adventures 2, chapter 14, The Dark King. Thunderstorm says, alright, I've had enough losing. Ernest says, aww, I was having fun. Twilight says, Thunderstorm, come here quick! Thunderstorm lands in front of her and says, what's up? Twilight says, today is a day of the Dark Rising. Thunderstorm says, no, I got to tell Mother. Ernest says, what's wrong? Twilight says, Thunderstorm is in deeper trouble than ever. At the castle, Thunderstorm flies in through the window and says, Mother! Luna runs in and says, what is it? What's wrong? Thunderstorm says, they're coming back, Mother. They're coming back. Luna goes pale and says, no, do not leave this castle. It's too dangerous. I'm going to tell Celestia. Stay here, please. She runs off to get Celestia. Thunderstorm's ears and wings shoot up. And he says, they're here. In Ponyville, Octavia says, what's that black and red cloud? Scratch says, Auntie? That's no cloud. Firefly says, it's dark ponies. Zara says, dark ponies? Firefly says, for every pony that is born in Equestria, naturally, and not by magic or DNA made. Draconics says, what, is DNA made a crime? Firefly says, anyway, a dark, black-coated, red-maned, and red-eyed evil Rebecca is born also. Octavia says, why are they here? Firefly says, they want their king back. Back at the castle, Thunderstorm looks out the window and says, that's them alright. Renash doesn't know what those are. So just says, you're going nowhere. Now stay here. You know they're here for you. Lay low. So she says, Thunderstorm, get back here! Renash says, whoa. What is that? Thunderstorm says, dark ponies. Twilight says, it looks like they spotted you. They're really bolting it over here. Anti-Twilight says, good to see you again, my king. Twilight says, king? Thunderstorm says, I'm not your king anymore. Anti-Twilight says, you will be. I sense that our dark pony king is still in you. Thunderstorm says, no he's not. And then Twilight says, let's see if the words still work. Thunderstorm says, you do and I'll break your neck. And then Twilight says, welcome back, my king. Thunderstorm screams, ah! Ah! The storm roars. Dash says, Twilight, what's happening? Twilight says, I don't know. Thunderstorm screams, ah! No! I won't go back to being... Ah! The storm roars. Twilight says, stop this! And that's why it says, there is no stopping it. Thunderstorm screams, ah! And that screams, Thunderstorm! Twilight says, his eyes. Thunderstorm says, that's King Darkstorm to you. And Twilight says, my king is back. End of chapter 14. Brony Adventures 2, chapter 15. King Darkstorm. Twilight says, his eyes are glowing red, and his mane has turned all red. What happened? And Twilight says, he has become King Darkstorm, his anti-self. Twilight says, no, we're too late. King Darkstorm nods his head, and anti-unicorns and unicorns are dropped into Ponyville. King Darkstorm says, leave nothing alive! Burn everything! Kill everything! Leave Equestria in ashes! Twilight says, what? Twilight says, he's back. I can't believe he's back. Equestria will die if Darkstorm doesn't regain control. Lorna says, how do we do that? Dave says, yeah, how? Twilight says, tell me as well. Twilight says, I can't. The way we talked to him last time is dead. Twilight says, dead. Twilight says, destroyed. Is that better? Brony says, I'm not losing Thunderstorm again. I'll be right back. With Thunderstorm. Twilight says, no! Rainbow Dash! King Darkstorm says, Rainbow Dash. Brony says, let Thunderstorm go! Now! King Darkstorm says, how about I just kill you? A tear falls down Rainbow Dash's cheek, and she says, You wouldn't. King Darkstorm says, try me. He punches her. Twilight screams, Rainbow Dash! She hits the ground hard. King Darkstorm laughs and lands in front of her and says, I'm going to break every single bone in your body. Brony says, Thunderstorm, please, come out. King Darkstorm says, Thunderstorm has left you to die. Brony says, you promised you'd never leave me. King Darkstorm freezes, his eyes wide. King Darkstorm says, what's happening? I can't move. Twilight says, that's it. Brony is the key to saving Thunderstorm. Twilight says, and I know just how. Rainbow Dash, kiss him! King Darkstorm says, take one step towards me, and you'll be in front of the gates of hell. Nash walks over to King Darkstorm and kisses him. Static and magic sweeps over King Darkstorm. He pulls his head away from Rainbow Dash's. King Darkstorm says, I waited so long to be brought back. Ah! I won't go back! Ah! Twilight says, no, he's winning. Twilight says, are you sure? Twilight says, yes, the static is getting less, and Thunderstorm is still not back. King Darkstorm says, you see? Your silly kiss didn't work. I win, and you die. He flies at Rainbow Dash faster and faster. Tears fall down her cheeks, and she says, you promised. You promised. King Darkstorm freezes in the air. A storm roars. He says, no! 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 A lightning bolt strikes King Darkstorm, and he falls on the ground, not moving. Rainbow Dash screams, Thunderstorm! She runs to him and says, wake up, please! But his eyes slowly open, and he says, I told you, I'm never leaving you. Rainbow smiles and says, I know. Thunderstorm gets up but kneels down and says, Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash says, yeah? Thunderstorm says, will you marry me? Rainbow Dash says, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Thunderstorm says, is that a yes? Rainbow Dash says, yes, 1,000,000,000,000,000 times yes. Thunderstorm gets up and they kiss. Firefly says, is he divorced yet? Twilight says, Brady took care of it. Dunstorm says, I want you to have this. Renette says, what is it? Dunstorm says, it's a lunar amulet. It was my mother's. At night, no matter where you are, the stars will make a path leading you back to me. Tears run down Rainbow Dash's face, and she says, wow, thank you. But Dunstorm pulls her in close and says, you're welcome. End of chapter 15. Brony Adventures 2, chapter 16, A Match Made in Rainbows. At the wedding, Luna says, how is my son? Dunstorm says, my heart is pounding. Luna says, nervous? Dunstorm says, no, excited. Mother, she's the one. I've already died for her twice. Luna says, twice? Dunstorm says, yeah. I'm not letting him hit. It didn't only kill Darkstorm. I heard her voice and knew I could never leave her. Luna says, Thunderstorm, please stop dying. Thunderstorm says, sorry, Mother, but if it keeps her alive, I'll happily die. Tears appear in Luna's eyes, and she says, I don't want to lose you. Thunderstorm walks over to her and says, you won't. Not as long as she lives. Luna smiles and says, I know. Luna leaves the room. Firefly walks in and says, I know. Thunderstorm says, know what? Firefly says, that you died. Thunderstorm says nothing. Firefly says, stop dying! To Thunderstorm's surprise, tears appear on Firefly's face. Firefly says, I won't lose another friend. Thunderstorm says, another? Who died? Firefly says, not important. What is that you stop dying. Some mare isn't worth your life. The castle starts shaking. Thunderstorm says, she's not just some mare. She's the mare I love. And if I have to die for her, I will. Firefly says, Thunderstorm says, please don't say anything. I'm trying really hard not to break your neck. Firefly says, fine. Die for her, but don't expect me to be around when and after it happens. Firefly leaves the room. Twilight says, hey. Thunderstorm says, Twilight? Why are you here? Twilight says, to bring you this. Thunderstorm says, Rainbow Dash? Rainbow Dash says, Twilight, close the door, please. Twilight says, of course. The door closes with Twilight out of the room. Rainbow says, who are you? Thunderstorm says, what do you mean? Rainbow says, when I first met you, you were a human. We bring you here, and you start being a hero and stealing my heart. Thunderstorm says, we're even on both those parts. You are a hero too, and you stole my heart. Rainbow says, that right there. Your friends say you've changed, that as a human, you were weak, shy, and couldn't hurt any pony. So what happened? Thunderstorm says, I thought I had a friend to save, so I became Thunderstorm. Then the sun. I am Thunderstorm. How I acted around my friends wasn't the true me. Once I became Thunderstorm, the power running through me felt so amazing. I couldn't help but unleash my true self. I was done being a weak coward. And that says, I figured. Thunderstorm says, there are plenty of secrets for me to show you, if you're ready to go on an adventure. And that smiles and says, I've been ready. The preacher says, you're gathered here today to celebrate the strong bond of these two lovers. Do you, Thunderstorm, take the beautiful Rainbow Dash as your mare, to love and hold, and sickness and in health, to death do you part? Thunderstorm says, I do. The preacher says, do you, Rainbow take the handsome Thunderstorm as your stallion. So behold, in sickness and in health, to death do you part. Dash says, I do. The preacher says, I now pronounce you mare and stallion. You may kiss the bride. Dash and Thunderstorm kiss and head off for their honeymoon. Thunderstorm says, looks like we finally get to get even closer, huh? Dash blushes and says, yep. End of chapter 16. The Brony Adventures 2, chapter 17. A question answered. 5 weeks later, after Thunderstorm and Rainbow Dash's wedding. Sorry about that. Dave says, it's not the same around here with Rainbow Dash and Thunderstorm gone. Shelly says, they'll be back next week. Dave says, I know, but still. Shelly says, I agree, but it's just one more week. Dave says, wonder who that is. David opens the door and says, Scootaloo? Applebloom? Sweetie Belle? Why are y'all here? Applebloom says, well, we were wondering, since Rennash adopted Scootaloo as her little sister, does that mean that Thunderstorm is her big brother? Dave says, it sure does. Scootaloo says, yay, I have a big brother! and he's a prince! Woohoo! Sweet Belle says, lucky? I want a big brother. Applebloom says, I got a big sister and brother. Dave says, Sweet Belle, if you want a big brother, I'm here. Sweet Belle says, really? Dave says, yep. Sweet Belle says, yay, I have a big brother too. Scootaloo says, yeah, but mine is a prince. Sweet Belle says, yeah. Charlie says, alright you two, stop arguing. Scootaloo and Sweet Belle say, sorry, Miss Charlie. Charlie says, don't apologize to me. Apologize to each other. Scootaloo says, I'm sorry, Sweetie Belle. Sweet Belle says, I'm sorry too, Scootaloo. Charlie says, now that's better. Dave says, wow, you'd make a great mom. Charlie says, thank you. Applebloom says, are you and David going to get married? Dave says, maybe. Charlie says, perhaps one day. Applebloom, Sweet Belle, and Scootaloo say, yay! Charlie says, would you feel like to come in for a snack? Scootaloo says, yeah. Sweet Belle says, oh yes, please. Applebloom says, yes, ma'am. Dave says, well, come on in. End of chapter 17. Brony Adventures 2, chapter 18, A Dark Capture. 5 weeks later, also. Zara says, Zara, I'm back. Zara says, where the blossom apples have you been? I had to barricade the door to keep out those dark ponies. Zara says, we're trying to get them all gone, but they're tricky and powerful. The bright side is, we caught Anti-Twilight. Sorry, that was someone testing me. Should have cut that off. Sorry. You try and need them all and anti Rainbow Dash. Zara says anti. Rona says they're dark replicas. Zara says, oh, so what are you going to do with them? Rona says, me? Nothing. Soul Silver is going to question them. Zara says, Soul Silver? Rona says, me and Papa talked to him before the whole King Darkstorm thing. He's good now. Zara says, are you sure? Rona says, he's one of Papa's old friends, so I trust him. Zara says, if you say so, so why him? Rona says, he knows more about dark ponies than any pony. Zara says, how? Rona says, his mother was a dark pony. Zara says, but he's gray with a white mane and blue eyes. Rona says, his coat was gray because his dad was a normal pony and his dad had a white mane and his dad's mother had blue eyes. Zara says, wow, how long did you all talk? Rona says, 20 minutes. Zara says, Really? Hunter says, yeah. Hunter says, so what are you doing? Hunter says, building torture machines in case they won't talk. Zara says, torture? Isn't that a bit extreme? Hunter says, they tried to get Jacob to kill everything. He was going to kill Rainbow Dash. Zara says, actually, it was his anti-self. Hunter says, still. Zara says, torture to buy some apples. Hunter says, I got to finish building them first. See ya when I'm done. Zara says, sorry. See ya. End of chapter 18. One second. I'm going to cut my phone's sound off. Okay, back to the story. Sorry about that again, by the way. Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 19, A Dark Secret Uncovered. He says, Twilight, sit down. You're pregnant. Twilight says, I can't. I need answers. When and how was Snowstorm ever their king? He says, why don't you go ask inside Twilight? Twilight says, that's right, they caught her. But I can't. So Silver is questioning her and anti-Rainbow Dash right now. But he says, oh, wait, Soul Silver? Twilight says, Hunter and Firefly straighten him out. But he says, oh, okay. Twilight says, I need answers. But he says, ask Firefly. He knows about Thunderstorm too. Twilight says, of course, at Firefly's house. Firefly says, I'm coming. He opens the door and says, Twilight? What's up? Twilight says, may I come in? Firefly says, of course. She walks in and Firefly closes the door and then says, so, what's up again? Twilight says, I want to know when Thunderstorm was the Dark Pony's king. Firefly says nothing. Twilight says, please tell me. Firefly says, I can't. Twilight says, why not? Firefly says, Thunderstorm made me swear to never talk about it or tell any pony. Twilight says, why? Firefly says, it has nothing to do with his dad, and that's all I can tell you. Please go. Sorry, I said a word wrong in that sentence. Let me reread that. It has something to do with his dad, and that's all I can tell you. Please go. He opens the door. Twilight says, his dad? Firefly says, yeah. Twilight says, don't say Princess Luna kept his dad a secret. Firefly says, it's a lie. There's another reason his dad ain't around, but I can't tell you. Twilight says, was his dad a dark pony? Firefly says, yes. End of chapter 19. Brony Adventures 2, Chapter 20. Welcome to the family. After 2 months, Thunderstorm and Ronash are back. Cyrus says, welcome back, bro. Thunderstorm says, thanks, bro. Nash says, when did we tell them? Thunderstorm says, at Twilight's. Nash says, okay, at Twilight's house. Thunderstorm says, we have some great, awesome, amazing, spectacular news. Rainbow Dash is pregnant. Everyone says, yay! Rarity says, oh, congratulations, Rainbow. Rainbow says, Rarity? Thunderstorm says, Rarity? Rarity says, I'm not mad. anymore, and I don't want to lose a good friend. And Ash and Rarity hug, and Ash says, great to have you back, Rarity. Rarity says, you too, darling. Twilight says, what are you going to name it? Thunderstorm says, we ain't decided yet. Twilight says, oh. Fluttershy says, wow, I'm so happy for you, Rainbow Dash. Congratulations. Peanut says, you're going to have a baby. You're going to have a baby. You're going to have a baby. Thunderstorm says, where's Applejack? Twilight says, ever since that storm you made at Sweet Apple Acres, she's been missing. Let's back to the Crystal Caverns. Thunderstorm says, here's a song from my world that's quite popular, sadly. The song Baby Beat Baby plays. Peanut says, no! What is that? Blossom some apples! Thunderstorm says, have fun hearing it every day and every second in these cold, dark caverns for eternity. Now I'm gonna get out of here. I hate this song. Peanut screams, cut it off! No matter what I've done! Applejack will get me out of here! Flashback over. Thunderstorm says, I bet I know where she is. And Ash says, where's Scootaloo? Rarity says, I will Belle and Applegate on one of their adventures. Thunderstorm says, do you want to go tell her now? And Ash says, definitely. Thunderstorm says, let's go then. In the ever-free forest. And Ash says, Scootaloo! Scootaloo says, Rainbow Dash? Rainbow Dash! Scootaloo hugs Rainbow Dash and says, what's up, big sis and bro? Thunderstorm says, bro? Scootaloo says, yeah, you're my big brother now. Thunderstorm smiles and says, you bet, kid, but me and Dashy will have to be more than a brother and sister to you. Scootaloo says, what do you mean? And Ash says, we want to adopt you. Scootaloo says, really? And Ash says, yep. Scootaloo tackles them both and says, yes, 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 yes. Thunderstorm says, I love this kid. And Ash smiles and says, she's pretty awesome. Scootaloo says, Rainbow Dash just called me awesome. Woohoo! Thunderstorm says, what am I, a pile of hay? So Scootaloo says, you're a prince that I saved and married for Rainbow Dash. Of course you're awesome. Thunderstorm says, thanks, but she's cooler. At the Equestrian Adoption Center, Nash says, Scootaloo? Scootaloo says, yeah. Nash says, we're going to the family. Thunderstorm says, couldn't say it better myself. Scootaloo says, woohoo! Thunderstorm says, hey Scootaloo. Scootaloo says, yeah. Thunderstorm says, we've been talking and decided to let you decide. Scootaloo says, decide what? Nash says, do you want us to live in my house? Thunderstorm says, or the castle. Scootaloo says, Rainbow Dash's house. Thunderstorm says, sounds good to me. Rainbow Dash says, that's my girl. Scootaloo says, that's my... Oh my gosh. Scootaloo faints. Thunderstorm says, whoa, I got her. Let's head home. And Ash says, yeah. End of chapter 20. Brony Adventure 2, chapter 21. Welcome back home. At Twilight's house, editor Thunderstorm and Rainbow Dash have left. Twilight says, I wanted to go find Applejack. JD says, wait, what? Rarity says, how, darling? We have no idea where she is. Twilight says, a tracking spell, and all I need for it to work is something of Applejack's. Fluttershy says, like what? Twilight says, anything really. Mima says, does this work? Twilight says, Pinky, when did you get Applejack's comb? Mima says, just now. Rarity says, will it work? Twilight says, let's see. Pinky, put the comb on the floor. Mima says, okay. Twilight's horn starts to glow and the comb is lifted into the air. In a flash, the comb falls back onto the floor and Twilight puts her horn near the floor. Footprints appear. Fluttershy says, Applejacks? Twilight says, Yep. Let's go, girls. In the Crystal Empire's castle. Brady says, We have looked everywhere. She's not here. Are you sure that still works? Twilight says, Yes, Aunt. Wait! She's under us! Fluttershy says, Under us? Twilight says, In Equestria. She's in the Crystal Caverns. Underneath the castle. In the Crystal Caverns. Abdrat says, Ben McIntosh, where are you? Big McIntosh's voice says, Baby. Baby. Oh. Abdrat says, Ben McIntosh! She runs and finds him in a corner in the fetal position, rocking back and forth. Abdrat says, Ben McIntosh? Ben McIntosh says, Baby. Baby. Oh. Abdrat says, Ben McIntosh, it's me. Applejack. Don't you recognize me? And Baby McIntosh says, Baby, baby, oh. Twilight says, Applejack. And that says, Twilight? Rarity? Pinkie Pie? Fluttershy? What are y'all doing here? Ray says, looking for you. Why are you here anyway? And that says, to get Ben McIntosh out of here. Fluttershy says, what happened to him? And she says, listen. That song is what he's singing. Don't start getting him down here all this darn time alone. Forced to listen to that dang song over and over. Twilight says, Thunderstorm? Really? And that says, it's why he came to Sweet Apple Acres that day, to get Big McIntosh and put him in this darn place. Ray says, well, that does explain the storm. He was beyond angry. Twilight says, Big McIntosh did rape and kill Hunter. Abdrat says, I know that! He had already paid for what he did. Zara killed him. He didn't need to be brought here. Twilight says, perhaps this was kind of extreme. Abdrat says, extreme? It's downright cruel. Twilight says, let's get him out of here. Working together. They carry him out of the Crystal Caverns into the middle of Camelot. Ray says, he's heavy. Fluttershy says, help. Twilight says, we won't make it all the way back to Ponyville like this. Abdrat says, we need a cart to pull him in. Pinkie says, I'll get one. Fluttershy says, hurry, Pinkie. Pinkie says, got it. Abdrat says, good job, Pinkie. Gentle, y'all. Twilight says, there, he's in. Let's pull, girls. At Sweet Apple Acres, Ray says, we're here at last. Fluttershy says, thank goodness. Twilight says, girls? Abdrat says, what? Thunderstorm says, hello, girls. Nice cart. What's in it? Pinkie says, nothing. And why is Scootaloo on your back? Thunderstorm says, she fainted. So what's in it? Pinkie says, nothing. I mean, Reddy says, shh, Pinkie. Abdrat says, how do you come here? Thunderstorm says, what's in the cart? Twilight says, Big McIntosh. Abdrat says, Twilight. Thunderstorm says, relax, Applejack. I was just curious. You got Big McIntosh. Okay, see ya. Abdrat says, huh? You're not mad? Thunderstorm says, I'm too happy to be mad. Keep an eye on him, though. Abdrat says, you bet I will. Thunderstorm says, see you later. Abdrat says, see ya, partner. Big McIntosh says, what happened? All I remember is that dang song. Abdrat says, I'll pour you some apple cider and tell you everything. Big McIntosh says, thanks, sis. End of chapter 21. Well, that's some pretty good chapters so far. I'm going to stop it here. At the most, I'll make this as long as book 1, which is just 3 videos. But as the series goes on, like each book is longer than the last, except for book 3. But 4, 5, and 6, each one of those is longer than the one that came before it. So my videos will probably get only a little bit, hopefully only a little bit longer. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.